Welcome to the tutorial for Exit Ticket 202, Reasoning 1. After observing this pattern, student made a conjecture for the next number in the pattern, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Which number was most likely? His conjecture for the next number. We notice that 8 to 12 adds 24. Adds 4. Sorry about that. 12 to 16 adds 4. 16 to 20 adds 4. 20 to 24 adds 4. Therefore, we can say that our next number is going to be 28 when we add 4. Given that angle A is congruent to angle B, student conjectured that angle A and B are acute angles. Okay, so angle A is congruent to angle B, and they are both acute angles. Which example or which statement is a counterexample to the conjecture? That means that we want it to be the opposite or against that. Measure of angle A is 30 degrees. That's still acute, so that's not going to be opposite. Plus, measure of angle B equals 40 degrees. That means that they're not congruent, so that won't work. Measure of angle A is 45 degrees, and measure of angle B is 45 degrees. That could be true for their first conjecture, but cannot be a counterexample. The measure of angle A is 114 degrees. That would make it an obtuse angle. That could be true. But then we say the measure of angle B is 170. Remember that these angles are congruent. Therefore, our final answer, measure of angle A equals 126 degrees, which is an obtuse angle. And the measure of angle B equals 126 degrees is an obtuse angle, and they are both congruent. Which answers are examples of inductive reasoning? That means that we see something and assume that it's always going to be true. John saw wild turkeys in his yard during the past 3 years. We noticed this very specific thing. We assume he will see wild turkeys in his yard next year as well. That's inductive reasoning. Miss Smith notices that the first 10 students who enter her class are females. We notice something very specific. Therefore, she expects that all students in her class will be females. She assumes something from what she noticed. The water temperature at the beach was 75 degrees every day for the past 2 weeks. Therefore, the water temperature at the beach will be 75 degrees today. We assume something. That's inductive reasoning. Jake saw that all the brown dogs at a pet shelter were small dogs. So he went home thinking that all brown dogs are small dogs. We assume something from our very general information. Last year it rained every day in April. Next month is April. It will rain every day next month. Inductive reasoning. We're assuming again. John's co-workers noticed that John always orders pizza for lunch on Friday. Today is Friday. John's co-workers expect that he will order pizza for lunch today. All of those are inductive reasoning because they go from specific observation to general conclusion. After observing this pattern, student made a conjecture for the next shape in the pattern. Well, let's see what we notice here. So we notice that our first pattern goes from the top left to the center, then from the top right to the center, from the bottom right to the center, from the bottom left to the center, and we start back over from the top left to the center. Therefore, we can say that our next pattern is going to be from the top right to the center. Given that x is a number greater than 0, student conjectured that x to the power of 3 is greater than 3x plus 3. So we know that it's going to be greater than 0. So let's look at some examples here. If we were to throw in, let's just say 1. So if we throw in 1 for x, we find that 1 to the power of 3 is 1, and 3 times 1 plus 3 is 6. There's a counterexample. Let's try 2. Same thing. 9 is greater than 8. So that's also a counterexample because 8 is not greater than 9. When it's asking you to find a counterexample, just pick some values, throw them in for x, and see which one is the counter or the opposite example. Let me know if you have any questions on this exit ticket. Have a great day.